Hello and welcome to the Fairy Little Tutorials. My name is Marcia and today I'm going to show you, oh no, I dropped a stitch. How to fix a dropped stitch in your knitting. So let's go. So today I'm going to show you how to fix a dropped stitch. This can happen for many reasons. Sometimes it's that the stitch wasn't completed when you're knitting it. Sometimes it slipped off the needles and you didn't notice, or you're doing a fancy stitch and it somehow slipped off your needle. This can also happen if your stitches come off of your needle as well. So the first thing you need to do is mark your stitch that has dropped. So this one is the one that has dropped. And part of being able to fix a dropped stitch is learning how to read your knitting. You'll want to make sure that when you're knitting that you do have some safety pins handy, or safety pin stitch markers. There's lots of different kinds, but this is a really good way of catching your stitch when you've dropped it, because what happens when you drop a stitch is if you continue to pull on it, your stitch will continue to run. So it'll drop more and more stitches the longer it is unsupervised. So what I'm going to do is separate those. Just got a little bit of a tangle. So I'm going to use my little stitch marker here and grab that stitch right there that has dropped. The other thing I have handy is, this is a cool little knitting tool that you can pick up, or you can use a crochet hook or any sort of hook. You can even use a knitting needle if you are really strapped. There's always a way to be able to fix this. So the first step in fixing this is you're going to need to take your other needle and I just grab the yarn just to pull it out of the way, and it actually makes it easier to grab those stitches. And you're just going to slide them off one by one until you get to your dropped stitch. Okay, so I'm there now. And what I'm going to show you is that each of these stitches that are still on the needles, if you follow down below, it creates a V underneath each of those stitches that are on the needles. It creates a V that goes like this. So you want to make sure that the right leg of that V is on the front of your needle. So that's how that looks. And it's on the front of the needle going both directions. So once you realize that each of these stitches is attached to these V's, you'll understand that this is going to need to create a V, and each of these bars that go across between these stitches, those are all stitches that have dropped. It's going to take a little bit to get each of those stitches back into your neat row. So that's where this handy dandy little hook comes in very handy. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to put it through that dropped stitch first before you remove that stitch marker, because then you still have it secure. Undo your little stitch marker and remove it, take it out of the way. So what you're left with is a live stitch and these bars that go straight across. So these are the stitches that you're going to be recreating. So what you do is you take your crochet hook and you go under the first bar, and you're going to use the hook part to grab that yarn, that first bar that goes across. You're going to hook that and you're going to pull it through your loop for your stitch, and that has just caught up your first stitch. And you're going to repeat that again for your the second bar, and you're going to create another stitch, pull it through your loop, and then through the third bar, through the loop, fourth bar, through the loop, 5th bar through the loop, 6th bar through the loop. So now I've closed off that knitting and now I'm right back up to where I need to be. Then you put the stitch that you just brought back up, you put it onto your left hand needle, just because that's the easier way, and take your crochet hook out of there, but make sure that your right leg is on the forward side of the needle, not on the back side. So this is the right leg here, and what we're going to do is we're going to take our right needle and we are going to just slide these stitches over purlwise back onto our right needle. One at a time. And there you have it. You've fixed your knitting and you've picked up that drop stitch. Well done. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you need to rewatch it, go ahead, or if you need to slow it down, YouTube has this great function where you can do that too. I hope you have a fantastic day. Until next time.